I'm Jackie Cameron. I'm an assisting priest at Church of the Atonement in Chicago and was a member of the deputation to General Convention from the Diocese of Chicago. For my legislative committee work, I was assigned to the Committee on World Mission, and we worked on the legislation that had to do with anything regarding missionaries, as well as our relationship with the Anglican Communion and our response to the Anglican Covenant. I was very impressed with the members of this committee and with the work that we did. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. We knew we had to make some kind of response to questions around the covenant, and many of us came with a wide variety of thoughts and feelings about how best to respond to the covenant. The bishops that were serving on the Anglican Covenant subcommittee of the World Mission Legislative Committee were Bishop Ian Douglas of Connecticut and Bishop Ed Little of Northern Indiana. Bishop Douglas had proposed a resolution that basically encouraged us to affirm the first three sections of the covenant, where we talk about our relationships, our interdependence, our need for one another, but suggested that we say no, or that we could not ascribe to the fourth section of the covenant, which many people regard to be kind of the rules and regulations and consequences section of the covenant. That seems to be the section that most people have some problems with, or it gives them pause. Bishop Little comes from a part of the country where a diocese where they would like to affirm the covenant, and members of the committee ranged all over the spectrum. And one of the things that was a great pleasure was to see how respectfully people listened to one another, because we did spend a lot of time listening to one another before we began our work. We were assigned approximately 8 to 10 pieces of legislation that had to do either with our relationship to the Anglican Communion or with our specific response to the covenant. We heard a fair amount of people testifying as to how they thought we should respond. Not surprisingly, the vast majority felt that we should affirm our relationship with the communion, yet say no to the covenant. We had some visitors from the Anglican Church of Canada who quite strongly encouraged us to say no. We also had a visit from Archbishop Barry Morgan, who's the Primate of Wales. He didn't try to steer us in one direction or another, but we did hear how they approached the process of dealing with the covenant in Wales, and that was very instructive. Essentially, approximately 8 provinces have said yes to the covenant, including the Southern Cone, Myanmar, and several other provinces in Asia. Scotland has said a clear no, and while we were at convention, New Zealand took the stance of affirming the first 3 sections of the covenant, yet saying no to the fourth section. The Church of England, I heard a lot of people saying the Church of England said no, and that it's not that simple. The Church of England at this time is unable to say yes, and has to wait 2 and possibly 3 years before it can come back to synod and the question can be raised again. What happened there is they left some of the decision-making, they turned it over to the diocese, and enough dioceses said no that the entire church cannot say yes. So a majority of the dioceses did say no in the Church of England. However, the official response is on hold for 2 or 3 years. Wales also took a position of requesting more time and information before saying a clear yes or no. There are a lot of things we don't know about the covenant. One thing that's not clear is when it begins. As I mentioned, there are a number of people who have signed up. There's only 1 or 2 who have said no, but we don't know when the provisions begin. We also don't know what it means now that Archbishop Rowan will be leaving in December, and we don't know his successor yet. And we don't know what the new delay in the Church of England is going to mean for the rest of the covenant and those who might say yes or no or maybe. So we really came to a point where we knew we couldn't say yes because it did not reflect the majority of people in the Episcopal Church. Yet we also did not want to simply say no, because that too doesn't reflect the mind of the church. We felt that we're aware that this is a divisive topic, yet it is a divisive topic that we don't need to make a clear yes or a clear no at this time. And as we all know, relationships are complicated and messy, yet are worthy of a lot of time and attention. And so the group really came together around a stance that said, we're not in a position to decide right now, and we'd like to see how things unfold. And that's the position we ended up taking, and it was approved by the convention. We also did craft a piece of legislation, or edit a number of pieces of legislation that affirmed our desire to continue to be very active in the Anglican Communion and to try to find a way forward together. All in all, I was a little bit surprised at the decision we came to, because I, like many, arrived at convention expecting to say no. And after a process of listening to many, many voices, we came to a different decision, which is what we're supposed to be there for, is to listen to what we hope is the voice of the Spirit and to the voices of one another. And so I hope that, I believe we came up with good legislation, and I hope that that reaps benefits in the future. Thank you.